Islam, and welcome to Sisters Standing on Law. This is your host, Annie Eda L., along with my co-host, Roz Mariah Bay.
It's Mom, Peace, and Love. How are we? How are we all today?
I'm doing, a little bit on the tired side. I came home intending to take a nap, and it just never happened. I probably should have drank a whooshy so I can go to sleep, but I didn't think about it until just now as I'm saying it.
Yeah, the natural antidotes to get you to go to sleep and the natural antidotes to get you awake and at them, right?
Yes.
Like fire weather. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. No, I know.
Well, I want to welcome everyone to Sisters Standing on Law. We had a lot to cover. If you have downloaded the syllabus for today's class, you will see it's like 7 pages. And I didn't do that intentionally. It's just that one of the definitions, I believe, is liberty. And liberty is so all-encompassing that I just felt that it was very, very, very necessary to include it, the whole thing.
Can I just interject right here, just about liberty? Remember on all the the information we used to share, I would say, listen, liberty is very broad. It covers a lot of things, but in its most strictest sense, it simply means the ability to move to and fro. And so there you go. You get the whole definition of the liberties, and there it is. Just like you said it would be. Mm-hmm. And you know what's funny? People talk about my rights and my liberties, but many of us never really looked to see what they were. What we're really talking about. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so because we have so many definitions to read, what I would like to do is, I don't know if I should read the definitions. I think I'm going to read it, I don't know. Read the definitions first, and then I just want to read all 12 articles of the Treaty of Peace and Friendship.
Yeah.
Because they're not that long, but they're very impacting. They're literally talking about, two nations. They're talking not only about two groups of people. They're telling you about a nation. And if you do your historical research, you will find that Morocco, which the nationals of that family is Moor, is the only nation that helped the modern Europeans establish a republican form of government and recognize them as a nation and bankrolled them and allowed them to come to their land and live. If it wasn't for that, they would have had nowhere to go. And, and if it wasn't for the Moors, the brutish Moors of Great Britain, they would have never made it over to this continent, really, because they were not here prior to 1640. They were not here. And, that's a piece of history that, has been left out. Actually, the Treaty of Peace and Friendship is a huge part of history that has been held out, because the Treaty of Peace and Friendship between Morocco and the United States of America is the glue or the connector between the Declaration of Independence and the American Constitution. That's the Treaty of Peace and Friendship is the the connector between those two documents. So it's just, the history is just amazing. It's very expensive, and, you know, if we as a people do not study our own history and we rely on foreigners to tell us our history, we will never, ever know the truth. You're never going to go to any institution established by a foreigner and they tell you your history. It's never going to happen. Because really what is being told today is not, as the history of the Moors is not the history of the Moors. That is the history of the true Negro-colored black people, which is the modern Europeans, erroneously called white people. So they're telling us their history, and they're using words that actually express another family. And because we lack knowledge regarding, you know, simple words, looking at this as though, oh, yeah, when they say black, they're talking about us. Or when they say colored people, they're talking about us. Or when they say Negro, they're talking about us. These three words, if we do some research, they do not define us. They do not describe us, and they never apply to us. But like I said, once again, if we depend on foreigners to allegedly educate us, inform us, we're never going to have appropriate information. We're always going to be behind, always. No nation on this planet does that except us. So this is the connector. It is an absolute necessary piece, cannot be left out. And if you leave it out, you'll get a disconnect. You don't know how these modern Europeans got from declaring their independence to being brought into American law. Because remember, they're the slaves of Great Britain. They're the slaves of Great Britain.
Sorry. Yeah, and the proof of what you're saying, I just wanted to say, you know, because the thought came as you were saying they're never going to teach us our history, et cetera, like that. Because really it's our responsibility to ourselves. But the proof of that is as soon as you start saying that you are a Moor, they get terribly, terribly upset. And you got to realize there's a reason for that. That, you know, that when they branded us, that they had an intent behind it. So when you go back and look at, say, for instance, this treaty that is in fact in regard to them as it pertains to this land, you'll see why. Because the treaty is not between Negroes, Colored, Blacks, and Christian powers. So they don't have to honor that because that's not real. And then when you start raising your consciousness and honoring your foremothers and forefathers by their deeds, well, now they got a problem because now they feel as though they have to adhere to it because they don't have to adhere to something that you yourself are not acknowledging because their nature is not to adhere to anything anyway because they operate on lower self. Islam.
Right. So, like I said, we got a lot to cover, and so without further ado, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, and I'm going to start from after the Royal Seal because I believe about 2 weeks ago when we went over the introduction and salutation, I think we read the introduction, and that was the beginning of the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to read from after. If you did not download it, go to the RV Bay Publication website and download the syllabus. And I believe the Treaty of Peace and Friendship out of the Congressional Record is up there as well. So make sure you go and get that so that you can follow along. So, in the name of Almighty God, this is a treaty of peace and friendship established between us and the United States of America, which is confirmed and which we have ordered to be written in this book and sealed with our royal seal at our court of Morocco on the 25th day of the blessed month of Shaban in the year 1200 in God. It will remain permanent. Article 1. We declare that both parties have agreed that this treaty, consisting of 25 articles, shall be inserted in this book and delivered to the Honorable Thomas Barclay, the agent of the United States, now at our court, with whose approbation it has been made and who is duly authorized on their part to treat with us concerning all the matters contained therein. Article 2. If either of the parties shall be at war with any nation whatever, the other party shall not take a commission from the enemy nor fight under their colors. Article 3. If either of the parties shall be at war with any nation whatever, and take a prize belonging to that nation, and there shall be found on board subjects or effects belonging to either of the parties' liberty, and the effects returned to the owners, and if any goods belonging to any nation with whom either of the parties shall be at war, shall be loaded on vessels belonging to the other party, they shall pass free and unmolested without any attempt being made to take or detain them. Article 4. A signal or pass shall be given to all vessels belonging to both parties, by which they are to be known when they meet at sea, and if the commander of a ship of war of either party shall have other ships under their convoy, the declaration of the commander shall alone be sufficient to exempt any of them from examination. Article 5. Either of the parties shall be at war and shall meet a vessel at sea belonging to the other. It is agreed that if an examination is to be made, it shall be done by sending a boat with 2 or 3 men only. And if any gun shall be fired and injury done without reason, the offending party shall make good all damages. Article 6. If any more shall bring citizens of the United States or their effects to His Majesty, the citizens shall immediately be set at liberty and the effects restored. And in like manner, if any more, not a subject of these dominions, shall make prize of any of the citizens of America or their effects, and bring them into any of the full ports of His Majesty, it shall be immediately released, as they will then be considered as under His Majesty's protection. If any vessel of either party shall put into a port of the other, and have occasion for provisions or other supplies, they shall be furnished without any interruption or molestation. Article 8. If any vessel of the United States shall meet with a disaster at sea and put into one of our ports to repair, she shall be at liberty to land and reload her cargo without paying any duty whatever. Article 9. If any vessel of the United States shall be cast on shore or any part of our coast, she shall remain at the disposition of the owners, and no one shall attempt going near her without their approbation, as she is then considered particularly under the protection. And if any vessel of the United States shall be forced to put into our ports by stress of weather or otherwise, she shall not be compelled to land her cargo, but shall remain in tranquility until the commander shall think proper to proceed on his journey. Article 10. If any vessel of either of the parties shall have an engagement with a vessel belonging to any of the Christian powers within gunshot of the fort of the other, the vessel so engaged shall be defended and protected as much as possible until she is in safety. And if any American vessel shall be cast on shore on the coast of Wad Nun, or any coast thereabout, the people belonging to her shall be protected and assisted until, by the help of God, they shall be sent to their country. Article 11. If we shall be at war with any Christian power, and any of our vessels sail from the ports of the United States, no vessel belonging to the enemy shall follow until 24 hours after the departure of our vessels. And the same regulation shall be observed towards the American vessels sailing from our ports, be their enemies Moors or Christians. And Article 12. If any ship of war belonging to the United States shall put into any of our ports, she shall not be examined on any pretense whatever, even though she should have fugitive slaves on board, nor shall the governor or commander of the place compel them to be brought on shore on any pretext or require any payment of them. We're only going to go through Articles 1 through 12 because we don't want to rush through it, and we want to take our time and examine this. So those are the first 12 articles of the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. And what I'm going to do now is go through the definitions, and I'm going to try to do it quickly. Because, like I said, we have like 7 pages, and we also have, let's see, I think 12 questions. I think, let's see, I can't remember how many questions I had put down. 12.
Yeah, there's 12 questions. And, well, I just wanted to make one comment because it came to me when you were reading and you gave the date. The first thing you did was gave the date of the 1200, and just for clarity for those who may not know, because a lot of people talk about, when we used 14, now we would say 1435, and there's 580 years that taken off the calendar or added to. We need to understand that there's lots of different calendars, and that particular document can put the end to any arguments that anyone is wrong or anyone is right, in that particular one is documented to show and prove that there were 2 different calendars being used and observed at that time. It's not my opinion, some other brother's opinion, someone else's opinion saying you should use this calendar, that calendar. There's a whole lot of calendars, but that one shows and proves it. And the last thing, when they're mentioning vessels, right, they're talking about ships.
Yes.
Now, right, can you clarify that? Because a lot of brothers think, well, I'm a vessel, and this is maritime. Like this is how they see themselves instead of the natural being. Like it doesn't matter whether they're on the land or the sea, but that's the first interchange. Mm-hmm.
That's absolutely, and that's why I included. I'm pretty sure I included the definition of vessel in definitions, because you are not, nor have you ever been, a vessel. But you have to understand the language to comprehend that you're not a vessel. What you are is a divine being manifested in the flesh. And your rights are unalienable. That is key. You're unalienable. But if you define yourself terms other than a divine being manifested in the flesh, then what's going to happen is people are going to address you in this manner. Remember, everything is by agreement. So if you are saying that this is what you are, then that's how everybody is going to deal with you or classify you, because that's what you said. It's just that simple, really. I thought I had Islamic calendar here because Shaban is the 8th month of the Islamic calendar, and I can't remember if I think the first month of the Islamic calendar begins in March. So March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October.
Yes. Yes.
Shaban would be,
and that's why it's celebrated in October. You know, once we know those things, we'll understand a lot more. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's get down to our questions. Our definitions. They're really interesting, and I'm not sure if I'm going to go through all of liberty because, like I said, very extensive. But I wanted to include it so that the people would have it for reference. You can get it all out of the Black's Law 4th edition dictionary, but, sometimes people don't really look at the definition of liberty because we're investigating other things. But, when we first looked at it, it was when we were going through the American Constitution, and the definition of liberty was just so vast and extensive. It was like amazing because in the Constitution it says that your liberties are unalienable, and we really don't comprehend just what that means. But when you read the definition of liberty, basically what it's saying is your unalienable right to live and breathe and be can never be mean.
Well, explain that because some people still don't know what you mean. That means that they violate them and they
right. They can never put a price. They can never assign a financial dollar, income, credit, anything that equates to a purchase in any way, shape, or form to all the people's ability to just live and be. That's why the Constitution says it's unalienable. As Moors, we understand what that means, really. We are supposed to. So let me get into these definitions. Hopefully I can whip through them. The first definition we have is a probate. Now, this in the Black's Law, by the way, all definitions come out of the Black's Law 4th edition dictionary. In the dictionary, it combined a probate and reprobate together. So, of course, I didn't separate it. A probate and reprobate in Scot law, to approve and reject, to attempt to take advantage of one part and reject the rest. Equity suffers no person to approbate, rebate the same deed. The doctrine of approbate and rebate is the English doctrine of election. Right. The next definition we have is citizen, and I know it's kind of redundant. Everybody thinks they know what citizen means, but really, this is why I included the definition, because when they start talking about, are you a citizen, the definition makes it clear. It's saying you're a member. See, in order for you to be a member, you have to do that with full knowledge of what the consequences are of you declaring yourself to be a member. A member of a free city or jural society, all the rights and privileges which can be enjoyed by any person under its constitution and government, and subject to the corresponding duties. Citizens are members of community inspired to common goal who in associated relations submit themselves to rules of conduct for the promotion of general welfare and conservation of individual as well as collective rights. The term appears to have been used in the Roman government to designate a person who had the freedom of the city and the right to exercise all political and civil privileges of the government. There was also at Rome a partial citizenship, including civil but not political rights. Complete citizenship embraced both. A member of a nation or body politic of the sovereign state who owes allegiance. A member of the civil state entitled to all its privileges. One of the sovereign people, a constituent member of the sovereignty, synonymous with the people. In American law, one who under the Constitution and laws of the United States or of a particular state is a member of the political community owing allegiance and being entitled to the enjoyment of full civil rights. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. I just want to say something right here. Now, the beginning of the definition made it clear that you were becoming a member. This definition saying that you don't have a choice. Your citizenship is based on the state wherein you reside. Now, that's absolutely contrary to the Constitution. Absolutely, because your citizenship, remember, it said in the definition, they're talking about your allegiance. Now, allegiances have to be pledged, meaning you have to make an agreement in some form, either verbal or written. You're not making an agreement or you're not pledging your allegiance simply by virtue of where you stand. That is not an allegiance.
No, this is beautiful. This is bringing right to the lesson that we put this as each person who gets a card to. The definition, what they're talking about too, as well, is the definition you read earlier. It said except political, and my ears went up right there because, like you're saying, you can make a choice to be a member of something, and that's why we say, look, member and citizen are the same thing. However, it excluded political. Why? Political allegiance is determined by your nationality. It can't be split up into whatever and however. That's why it said with the exception of political, because you can't change that. So now let's say your political allegiance is based on your nationality, and that determines that. And if you're going to go down here now, and I'm going to just say this so we keep it in our head, your civil liberties are determined by where you say you domicile. So if you say, I live in a state of New Jersey, this is what you're heading to right now. If I live in a state of New Jersey, well, guess what? You don't have any. You're a member/citizen of a union state, and they don't have, and your civil liberties are absolutely clipped, and they don't have any to give you because you're born with them.
Yeah.
You just gave them up by becoming a member. I love that. All right. I just had to add that to it.
The other thing that people need to recognize and comprehend is that anyone who is of melanated complexion, they're Aboriginal Indigenous. Let me not put it on the complexion of the skin. Anyone who is a descendant of any of the Aboriginal Indigenous people, and this is based on your mother's bloodline, let's be clear, not your father, your mother's bloodline.
That's right.
Anyone who is of the Aboriginal Indigenous family, your nationality is already set. all right? And determining your nationality is not determined by just soul. That means place of birth. That is not the criteria determines one's nationality or nationality. Let me just put it that way. Nationality for one who is a descendant of the Aboriginal indigenous people. This was established for modern Europeans who are not, let me repeat that, this was established for modern Europeans who are not Aboriginal indigenous to planet Earth, which is what you mean when you say I'm Aboriginal indigenous to the land. They're not Aboriginal indigenous to planet Earth, which means their protection is based on just soul. So when you say, oh, you know, I'm a citizen of one of the Union States of the United States, or one of the United States of America, what you're saying is, in essence, I am under the protection of the Moors. If you say I am a citizen of Great Britain, or essentially saying I am under the protection of Great Britain. If you are a descendant of a modern European, because they are not Aboriginal indigenous to the land. And see, what they try to do, that's why these definitions, when it's talking about citizens, essentially it doesn't apply to the Aboriginal indigenous people. That's why it takes out location and not bloodline. All right? That's why it talks that. Yep. So, you know, you can. I'm not going to read any more of citizen because it's in the syllabus and you can read it some more. I want to go on to commission. The commission, a warrant or authority or letters patent issuing from the government or one of its departments or a court empowering a person or persons named to do certain acts or to exercise jurisdiction or to perform the duties and exercise the authority of an office, as in the case of an officer in the Army or Navy. Also in private affairs, it signifies the authority or instructions under which one person transacts business or negotiates for another. In a derivative sense, a body of persons to whom a commission is directed, a board or committee officially appointed and empowered to perform certain acts or exercise certain jurisdiction of a public nature or relation as a commission of assise. Civil law, bailment, being an undertaking without reward to do something in respect to an article bailed equivalent to mandate. Commercial law. Commercial law, I just want to make a clarity here when we talk about commercial law as Moors. A lot of Moors have a grave misconception when it comes to commerce and commercial law. Today they use words like commerce and commercial, but our ancestors were always merchants.
Right.
All right? They were always merchants. Commerce alludes to people who purchase goods from someone else for resale. That is a modern European practice.
Wow.
Moors
that makes
are
sense.
merchants. Moors are merchants. We were, you know, and sadly, sad to say this, it's an art that appears to be dying out because the sons are caught up in following after the modern Europeans. Merchants our sons of ancient times, our ancestors, they were, and not just very creative. They did things, you know, as a scientist, and they created merchandise.
That's right.
We are always creating. We are creative, all right? That's why we were merchants. This commercial craft is a modern European practice because they were never the masters of the art. They didn't create craft.
That's not all, though.
Craft. They took our creations and claimed it. But we have always been creators of very, you know, beautiful things. This is why our heritage is one of merchants. And, you know, we need to get back to that. You know, we need to get into the art of creating spices. That's what we did. We didn't go and, I'm going to go to the wholesale store and just buy a big bucket of spice and then parcel it out and then sell it at, you know, at cost or profit or whatever you want to call it. That's not us.
But let me
just finish. In our history, we were the ones that was creating the spices that modern Europeans used to come and buy in bulk and then want to do the reselling. But we created these things because it was like, okay, if I marry these two and I did this type of drying or that type of drying, what would the bouquet be? Because it wasn't even about that. Those were the words that was used. What would the bouquet be? And it was a very scientific but curious and absolute enjoyment process. And this is why our history is one of being merchants, because we created the merchandise.
Right.
Go ahead, right?
Well, I'm going to tie a red ribbon around this here, right? Everything that you're saying. Now, you said that in commercial, what was that you said? You said it's when, and commerce is when they take something and trade it like third party, correct? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right, everyone listen. This is about that they have no dominion on the land or the resources of the land. So this is our ancestral state. And remember, as it says in the study, and Prophet Noah Ali says, that the resources, gold, the silver, the resources of the land belong to the people and the people alone. So check this out. You're absolutely right, because they have taken, like you're saying, yes, we created from the natural resources. They've even included taking food, which is from the earth land of the earth, which doesn't belong to them because they don't own the land and they don't own what Mother Nature grows naturally for us. And they have done a third-party transfer with that, added some crap in it and so on like that. So you're right. They never even traded like if you grew potatoes and I grew broccoli or whatever it was, and we did our merchant, our exchange even from that position. That's why they have to be forced into the commerce position, because they don't have dominion over anything that comes out of the ancestral estate, which includes the food. Wow.
Yeah.
They could not. Yeah. So we connect. We're the merchants of everything. Matter of fact, right now we're the good news merchants. That makes sense. That makes sense. So we got to come out of the mind. We got to go back to the mindset of our foremothers and fathers, not theirs. All right.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, and so what you can continue reading definitions that we provided for commission, but I want to go into dominion.
Yeah.
Dominion is the word. Our next definition to analyze. The dominion, the definition of dominion is ownership. or right to property or perfect or complete property or ownership. Title, article of property which arises from the power of disposition and the right of claiming it. Sovereignty or as the dominion of the sea. In the civil law, with reference title to property which is transferred by a sale of it. Now, you already know that. That's out of order. Well, hold on. Let me rephrase. When I was reading this, I was a little bit perplexed about it, but then I realized they're talking about property. You see, a lot of times when people hear the word property, they include the land. But this is talking about the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, just like the Constitution talks about, it was written for the modern European. Now, when they're talking about property, that does not include the land. They're talking about, your clothes, your pots and pans, your if you have some sort of let me think, what did they have back in, your tools of trade, that's what they're talking about. This does not include the land. So when they're and there's another definition, but I didn't want to put it in here because that's not the word that was used in the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. But this is dominion, and there's also a different definition of dominium, which is different. But this is the word that's used in the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. So I included that, but I didn't want to include the other one because that might create some confusion. So in the civil law, with reference to the title to property which is transferred by a sale of it, the meaning is said to be either proper or remote, the former being the kind of title vesting in the purchaser when he has acquired both the ownership and the possession of the article, the latter describing the nature of his title when he has legitimately acquired the ownership of the property, but there has been no delivery. Then we have the definition of effect, because they use this quite frequently in the treaty where they say the people's property and effect.
That's so right. It's in the Constitution. It's in the Constitution. I think it's 4. It says, have a right to their houses, their effects, their persons, and facts, and papers. It's right there. So you don't have to show them a paper or nothing without, law. Not through the course of statute, through the course of law. So,
yes. So now we have the definition of effects, plural, personal estate or property, movable or chattel property of any kind. In this sense, the term is more comprehensive than the word goods, as including fixtures and choices in actions which goods will not include. Also, every kind of property, real and personal. In will, personal property, goods, worldly substance, if the term is used simpliciter, as in a gift of all my effects, it will carry the whole personal estate unless an intention appears to the contrary. The meaning of the term is determined by the context and surrounding circumstances and is broad enough to include property of any kind. The words real and personal effects will embrace the whole estate. Now, I just want to be clear. Remember, inheritance cannot be bought, sold, or transferred. So whenever they're talking about property, here, they are not talking about the land, which is inherited. Inheritance cannot be bought, sold, or transferred. Now the next.
Before you go to the next one, that's why all of those mortgages, which they sell themselves as a death grip, and That's why they're all fraud, because you can't. But at the same time, if we're not cleaning it, and that's why they do the titles. They do what they call a title search, but you never see it because they never gain the title. They're just looking to see if any elder bay have done so. So that's why all of that stuff they do is fraud, because they can't buy, sell, or transfer. But the one thing I wanted to say about dominion, to interject here with that, there is what we have is called spiritual dominion. Because remember, we're spiritual beings, manifested in the flesh. There's a difference between dominion and what we have spiritual dominion. There's a difference between dominion and domination, because dominion is absolutely being spiritual, and domination is, of course, a forced act. And what they've done is domination, calling it dominion. And what we are about is spiritual dominion, but we just have to claim it.
Islam. All right, our next definition is liberty, and I'm going to try and whip through all of it.
I hope so. You want me to help you, because you know what? I'm looking at these things, and I'm thinking somebody who does a rap needs to do a rap. And like, most of these things are more case laws in them than the actual definition. Like, I'm just as example, freedom of assembly, freedom of citizenship, freedom of the conscience, freedom of contract, all that. Like, somebody needs to do something so people can listen to that and understand that you have the freedom of, these things. So when you're talking about your liberties and your freedoms and stuff, you actually really know what they are. But I will say this before you go through it. Everything in here is imbued also in the rights of indigenous people is based on these freedoms. If you read the rights, that's what they're basing it on. All right, go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, and before you start, one last thing, because I was looking, I don't know if this is in here or not, but I wanted to just say, I don't know if you have personal liberty in here. So, and the reason I want to mention it is because the personal liberty definition is what we have on the back of the road travel card. And it's just personal liberty, because there's a lot of liberties now. They're all really personal, but personal liberty is the right or power of locomotion. That means movement, not a train. The right or power of locomotion of changing one's situation or moving one's person to whatsoever place one's own inclination may direct without imprisonment or restraint, unless it is by due course of law. And I just wanted to bring on the point that, as you're going to show when you read these liberties, liberty is, in a broad sense, covers a lot of things, really everything. But in its most strictest sense, it simply means you moving your body, your person, from one place to another without any restraint or imprisonment, unless, it's by some due course of law, some crime or whatever. Islam.
All right, Islam. All right, so the definition of liberty. Freedom, exemption from extraneous control, freedom from restraints except such as are justly imposed by law. Freedom from restraint under conditions essential to the equal enjoyment of the same right by others, freedom regulated by law. The absence of arbitrary restraint, not immunity from reasonable regulations and prohibitions imposed in the interest of the community. The power of the will to follow the dictates of its unrestrained choice and to direct the external acts of the individual without restraint, coercion, or control from other persons. The word liberty includes and comprehends all personal rights and their enjoyment. It embraces freedom from duress, freedom from governmental interference in exercise of intellect and formation of opinions, in the expression of them, and in action or inaction dictated by judgment. Freedom from servitude, imprisonment, or restraint. Freedom in enjoyment and use of all of one's powers, faculties, and properties. Freedom of assembly, freedom of citizen from banishment, freedom of conscience, freedom of contract, freedom of locomotion or movement, freedom of occupation, freedom of press, freedom of religion, freedom of speech. It also embraces right of self-defense against unlawful violence, right to acquire and enjoy property, right to acquire useful knowledge, right to carry on business, right to earn livelihood in any lawful calling, right to immigrate and, if a citizen, to return, right to engage in a lawful business to determine the price of one's labor and to fix the hour when one's place of business shall be kept open, right to enjoy to the fullest extent the privileges and immunities given or assured by law for living within the country, right to support allegiance and expatriate oneself, right to freely buy and sell as others may, right to labor, right to live and work where one will, right to marry and have a family, right to pursue chosen calling, right to use property according to owner's will. Liberty on its positive side denotes the fullness of individual existence. On its negative side, it denotes the necessary restraint on all, which is needed to promote the greatest possible amount of liberty for each. The word liberty, as used in the state and federal constitution, means in a negative sense freedom from restraint, but in a positive sense it involves the idea of freedom secured by the imposition of restraint, and it is in this positive sense that the state, in the exercise of its police power, promotes the freedom of all by the imposition upon particular persons of restraints which are deemed necessary for the general welfare. Now, again, that definition is questionable only because we know the definition of police.
Of what?
Liberty, because we know the definition of police.
I'm sorry, I don't understand. Which one? What are you saying? The definition of what?
The definition that I just read, where it says the word liberty as used in the state and federal constitution, blah, 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 then it says, and it is in this positive sense that the state, in the exercise of its police powers, promotes the freedom of all by imposition. That we already know is questionable because we know what the definition of police is, which is absolutely unconstitutional.
But let me add, I'm glad you brought that up, because the one you read here that says right to enjoy to the fullest extent the privileges and immunities given or assured by law, underlying law, to people living within the country, underlying country, that right there is where the Constitution comes out of. And this over here is talking about states. So I'm not so sure. When you look at this one that's talking about states, they're talking about states. Now, we do know that the state constitutions are not supposed to be out of harmony with the supreme law of the land, but here it shows you that if you choose to be a member/citizen of a state, you have good liberties from the door. However, those who are members may apply to what you just read, but those who are not, which is why we cannot go with the right to enjoy the fullest assured by law to people living within a country, and not those that are the state, because even though the state is supposed to be in harmony, if they're not in harmony, that's when Article 6 says, guess what? It doesn't apply to you. So actually that may not be so wrong at all. It's just a matter of us, taking our position and knowing the difference between being a member/citizen of a state. And this shows you why you can't be. Islam.
Right, Islam. Liberty, insofar as it is noticed by government, is restraint rather than license. It is a yielding of the individual will to that of the many, subject to such constitutional guarantees or limitations as will preserve those rights and privileges which are admitted all men to be fundamental. Liberty in the civil state is a giving up of natural rights in consideration of equal protection and opportunity. The personal liberty guaranteed by Constitution, it says Constitution U.S. Amendment 13, already know that's questionable, consists in the power of locomotion without imprisonment or restraint unless by due course of law, except those restraints imposed to prevent commission of threatened crime or in punishment of crime committed, those in punishment of contempt of court or legislative bodies, or to render their jurisdiction effectual, and those necessary to enforce the duty citizens owe in defense of the state to protect community against acts of those who, by reason of mental infirmity, are incapable of self-control.
But see, again, I just want to say, they're talking about U.S. Amendment 13, which doesn't read right. So for those, and that's why it's so, convoluted in there, because, they're saying your personal liberties that are guaranteed by the U.S. Amendment 13. Well, you need to know what that is, because So moving right along. Mm-hmm.
And the next definition, this is talking. They're actually putting a restraint on the corporation, because it reads the liberty safeguarded by 14th Amendment. Now, you already know the definition of the 14th Amendment as when it talks about the definition of person as used in the 14th Amendment, it's talking about corporations. So already we know that this definition is saying something to corporations. So it says the liberty safeguarded by the 14th Amendment is liberty in a social organization which requires the protection of law against the evils which menace the health, safety, morals, and welfare of the people.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Now, the definition, also a franchise or personal privilege being some part of the sovereign power vested in an individual either by grant or prescription. The term is used in the expression, rights, liberties, and franchises as a word of the same general class and meaning with those words and privileges. This use of the term is said to have been strictly conformable to its sense as used in Magna Carta and in English Declaration of Rights statute grant. All right. In a derivative sense, the place, district, or boundaries within which a special franchise is enjoyed, an immunity claimed, or a jurisdiction exercised. In this sense, the term is commonly used in the plural as the liberties of the city. That's our definition of liberty. I got through it. It went
right across. You did get through it. I have a comment, but I would because it's actually like if we tie the dots together, we get the whole picture. Here it is. I'm glad I found it. Okay, it says here on. You're going to appreciate this because you're the one who showed me this document. Right to forswear allegiance and expatriate oneself. Now, that is a choice you have, and for all of those people out there who, right. Now, the interesting part that I want to bring up here, I got it right here, I just got to bring it up a little bit. Remember in the now they're talking about expatriation. And quite frankly, all those people who are doing the exemptions, they're actually expatriating themselves if they really understood what they were doing. Because it says that Patriation Act, it says that, first of all, about the, I hope I have the other page. Do I? Maybe not. Next page. All right. It says that, first of all, that this country, not this state, is not based on Christianity. You know that one? Mm-hmm. I'm talking about they are strictly speaking no Moroccan laws relating to citizenship. That means for us, of Moor is subject to the Morocco, the fundamental laws of this non-Christian country are based entirely upon the Islamic code, no part of which treats of the subject of citizenship. We are not really dealing with citizenship because we're nationals. And as you had stated earlier, this particular document it enforces that, saying that this is for those more than not, we're not of the citizenship situation. This was established for them. So when you tie these things together, and lastly, as far as the expatriation goes, remember it says those, check this out, It says citizenship in Morocco may be said to be governed by laws pertaining to the same in other countries, with the exception that all persons residing in Morocco who cannot prove foreign citizenship or protection are considered ipso jure Moorish subjects. Now, that's not for us. That's for them. They have to be the ones that actually show what's up, right? And then it says Moorish subjects lost their nationality only by becoming naturalized in or protected by another country having treaty relationships. And it says, the damning one that I wanted to get here. All right, it says that, it gives like what you do if you're naturalized, but the one I wanted to make here, the above rulings have never yet been acted upon, and should this at any time be contemplated seriously, a large number of naturalized people, Americans and others residing in Morocco, would be affected thereby. So the expatriation, and it also says in one of this is what I'm looking for, I apologize, it says that you have to show that if you were naturalized, it was done by a Moor from the Moorish nation. You know, that one is right. So all these people doing these Europeans doing what they think is naturalization for people coming in, that has nothing. That is a fraud. They can't naturalize anyone because they themselves are not the sovereign here. So these expatriation rules prove that. So now go back to your right to forswear allegiance and expatriate oneself. You still got to go by the rules of expatriation. So when these people say who are doing their so-called whatever they call it, redemptions and all that kind of stuff, and then they go and they say, I'm using this for some country somewhere else, they're literally expatriating outside of their own ancestral estate. If they begin to understand that, wouldn't you agree that once they begin to understand it and come home in their conscience, and then they could really reverse it? But they need to know what they need. Right, exactly.
Well, in the beginning, we talked about, that the, what was it? Was it dominion? What was our first definition? Citizen. If we understand that, okay, we're talking this whole issue here. A lot of people get this twisted. They're very confused. The issue here on a planetary level is basically asking you, what family do you belong to? All right? What family do you belong to? And if the people can get that into their head, they will never, ever, ever go anywhere and talk about, I'm going to expatriate from the Moorish. I'm going to expatriate out of the United States of America back into the Moorish family. See, when you say stuff like that, what you're telling people is you don't understand what this is all about. Because this is all about family. That's why the prophet said this is the uniting of Asia, which in essence means uniting of family. And, when we talk about what is your nationality, you can only get your nationality from who? Your mother. So what are we talking about? What family do you belong to? And the only family, there's only two families, so to speak, on this continent. You have the Moors, you have the modern Europeans. So when the modern Europeans talk about expatriating, in essence, what they are saying is they are changing their allegiance. That's why they did the Declaration of Independence, because they have to be adopted into a family to be protected because they're not Aboriginal indigenous to the land.
Right.
The descendants of the Aboriginal indigenous people, thereby being Aboriginal indigenous, that is not our issue. And to speak from that position demonstrates to your listening audience then you don't know who you are, and you don't know that this is about family and bloodline.
Right. And to add to what you're saying, and don't forget, as you said, they say we've got to expatriate out of the United States of America back into, I don't know where they're going back into. But they also support that based on the 14th Amendment sometimes, which means they still don't know what they're talking about because the 14th Amendment just says Prophet Noble Drew Ali said ain't got jack to do with you.
Yep.
And not only because he said it, it doesn't. It says itself that it's a little corporation.
Exactly. And here's the other, nail in the coffin. The 14th Amendment was not even written by the people who wrote the Constitution, nor was it written by the Aboriginal indigenous families of this land. See, this is all about family and, okay, are we going to adopt you into the family? And if we do adopt you into the family, what can you do? What can you do? What can you not do? And if you do not adhere to these family rules, because every family got rules, what will, all right? And then, and this is with the understanding that, okay, because we're inviting you into the house, you can't ever own the house. Just be clear. So back in the early 1700s, mid to late 1700s, it was very clear to the modern Europeans, hey, we're just protecting you. You can't own that. Good? They was like, yes, we're good. Just keep the other family members off our back. Yes.
You said something. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, you're laughing. Okay. All right. You said something. You said, hey, the 14th Amendment wasn't even written by those and finalized and promulgated by us at the time. The organic Constitution. The 14th Amendment isn't even a part of that. So let's bring this home. Listen, the Constitution is a written document. As such, it cannot change. It must be interpreted by them for what it meant when it was written. These are case laws I just read off to you, and they're on the site. Here's the deal. It's clear then, and this may clear up some of these other people talking about the Constitution says this and the Constitution says that we have the law, the American National Constitution, law of the land, 7 Articles, 10 Bill of Rights, right? And then we did 11, 12, and 13, but 11 and 12 really just reiterates 9 and 10, I believe. And then 13, they lied. That's when they started lying after they murdered Lincoln, and it was 20 articles that tells you in there, I believe it's Article 12, that you can never be a citizen of the United States, in case you didn't get that clear. And then they they did publish that properly, it's right in the congressional records, but then they started publishing en masse with only the 2 articles. So the point is that they are operating from a constitution that is not the constitution that is proper for you, because they amended it when they have no right to amend it. None of the stuff that they amended was promulgated, and even if they do go by it for themselves, that's their business. It's not yours, because that's not the Constitution that you're doing enforcing of. And that's why Prophet Noble Drew Ali leaving you a hint. I'm sure that he expanded upon this when he was on the scene to those who were in his immediate earshot and conferences and meetings, etc. But he left it. He says, the 14th Amendment, don't even worry about that. So that as you do your studies, you realize why he said it. And then you got the where they say about taxing powers. If you really read it, you'll see that that's for corporations. It's not for natural people. It's not. And if you approach it that way and put it in writing that way in any situation that you may encounter, you'll get a favorable reply. So I said all that to say that, because someone said to me one day, they said, well, they're going by another constitution. I said, you're right. That's not ours.
All on this land is the Constitution. There is no other Constitution.
Exactly. So yeah, bringing that home today. Yeah.
So our next definition is, they use the word past extensively in the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. So I also included passport because that definition was very interesting to all those people out there who have a, quote, passport. We have the definition pass, listed as a noun. Pass, permission to pass, a license to go or come, a certificate emanating from authority wherein it is declared that a designated person is permitted to go beyond certain boundaries which, without such authority, he could not lawfully pass. Also a ticket issued by a railroad or other transportation company authorizing a designated person to travel free on its lines between certain points or for a limited time. Now, this absolutely is not talking about people because as we learned in our definitions, as we learned in the definition of liberty, people are free to go and come as they please and do not need permission. That's the definition of liberty. So let's look at the definition of passport. It begins with maritime. The people are not involved in maritime activity. All right? Also, in the definition of liberty, it lets you know that the people have the right of liberty to come and go as they please. A document issued to a neutral merchant vessel by her own government during the progress of a war to be carried on the vessel to evidence her nationality and protect her against the cruisers of the belligerent powers. This paper is otherwise called a pass. Sea pass, sea letter, sea brief. It usually contains the captain's or master's name and residence. Very telling. The name, property, description, tonnage, and destination of the ship, the nature and quantity of the cargo, the place from whence it comes, and its destination, with such other matters as the practice of the place requires. That's telling you that the passport is not a document that is supposed to be imposed on the people, yet you got all these people running around with a passport. Then we have an international law, a license or safe conduct issued during the progress of a war, authorizing a person to remove himself or his effects from the territory of one of the belligerent nations to another country or travel from country to country without arrest or detention on account of the war. In American law, a special instrument intended for the protection of American vessels against the Barbary powers, usually called a Mediterranean pass. Also a document addressed to foreign powers which certifies that the person therein described is a citizen of the United States and which requires for him while abroad permission to come and go as well as lawful aid and protection. In modern law, a warrant of protection and authority to travel granted by the competent officer of persons moving from place to place. Now, I felt compelled to include that definition because when you put it up against liberty, what you will find is that if anybody is saying that you cannot freely come and go as you please unless you have some type of a license or a passport, they have just put a restraint on your liberty.
And that's where the travel case law comes in. The freedom to travel as you please. But unless you say you're driving, then you go under what? You're admitting that you're doing commerce.
Yeah, working for somebody. Here's the thing. If you're working for somebody, you're either working for somebody or you're working for yourself. Now, most people are working for somebody. Therefore, it is that somebody who is obligated to get the license that would blanket everybody who drives their property, just like they do with the insurance. All right? That's another discussion. Next definition, signal, a means of communication as between vessels at sea or between a vessel and the shore. The International Code of Signals for the use of all nations assigns arbitrary meanings to different arrangements of flags or displays of light. That's what the flag was. The flag was the ship's passport. Next definition is subject. Constitutional
Wait a minute.
law.
If the flag was the ship's passport, then this Treaty of Peace and Freedom, Treaty of Peace and Friendship is literally the passport for these modern Europeans to come through the sea to this land.
That's correct.
All right.
The next definition, subject, constitutional law, one that owes allegiance to a sovereign and is governed by his laws. This is where some Moors get confused, where they think, we need our own laws. No, you need to study the law that is the supreme law of this land, and then you will know where it comes from. The natives of Great Britain are subjects of the British government. Men in free governments are subjects as well as citizens. As citizens, they enjoy rights and franchises. As subjects, they are bound to obey the law. The term is little used in this sense in countries enjoying a republican form of government. Legislation. Under legislation, the matter of public or private concern for which law is enacted. Things legislated about or matters on which legislature operates to accomplish a definite object or objects reasonable related one to the other. The matter or things forming the grounds of the act. The constitutions of several of the states require that every act of the legislature shall relate to but one subject, which shall be expressed in the title of the statute. But term subject within such constitutional provisions is to be given a broad and extensive meaning so as to allow legislature full scope to include in one act all matters having a logical or natural connection. That concerning which the affirmation is a proposition is made, the first word in a proposition. Scott law, the thing which is the object of an agreement, subject matter. The subject or matter presented for consideration, thing in dispute, the right which one party claims as against the other, as the right to divorce, the right to divorce or ejectment, to recover money, to have foreclosure, nature of cause of action and of release sought. The last definition is vessel, and it reads a ship, brig, sloop, or other craft used in navigation. The word in its broadest sense is more comprehensive than ship. Any structure which is made to float upon the water for purposes of commerce or war, whether propelled by wind, steam, or oars. Any structure, especially a hollow one, made to float upon the water for purposes of navigation, a craft for navigation of the water, often specifically one larger than a common rowboat, as a war vessel, a passenger vessel, description of watercraft or other artificial contrivance used or capable of being used as a means of transportation on water. Under this definition, the term has been held to include a large barge without motive power of its own, and likewise a houseboat, not permanently attached to the shore, though without motive power, but not a wharf boat secured to the shore by cables and used as an office, warehouse, or wharf, and having water and electric light connections and telephone systems, nor a dry dock used for the repair of vessels, though capable of being floated and towed from place to place. As used in various other statutes, the word vessel has been held applicable to a ferry boat, a pile driver scroll, a derrick boat carrying a derrick used for loading logs from the riverbank upon boats, a hydro aeroplane while moving on the water. The term is broad enough to include a vessel's tackle, apparel, furniture, chronometer, and appurtenances. The word has also been held to include a new ship as soon as its hull has been launched, and any structure which is so far completed to be capable of being used as a means of transportation on water, but not an old hull built of timber taken from an old dry dock. The word boat, craft, and watercraft are usually applied to small vessels, while larger vessels, especially in the case of large iron steamships, are usually referred to by the term steamer or steamship or vessel. A utensil such as a bottle designed to hold liquid. Foreign vessel. A vessel owned by residents in or sailing upon the flag of a foreign nation. Foreign vessel under the Embargo Act of January 1808 means a vessel under the flag of a foreign power and not a vessel in which foreigners domiciled in the United States has an interest. One owned and used by a nation or government for its public service, whether in its navy, its revenue service, or otherwise. End of definition. So I just want everybody to be very clear that vessel in no way, shape, or form applies to the divine being manifested in the flesh. Islam.
That's interesting because I'm going to go look and see if there's any third place, fourth place uses. But really, it isn't. Like, we'll use it. Say, I always get that confused. But or to connotatively, because we're like you said, we're divine beings. And remember that the temple. We are the soul of man's temple, and that means that that's the body, and the soul, right, is in that. So that's the grand architect who built, soul of man's temple or Solomon's temple, not a brick and mortar building, not a ship. It's the temple, right? And that's why when you read stuff, they'll say everyone must make a priest of themselves because you are a temple yourself. So when we start throwing these other words onto what it actually is, the soul of man's temple, Solomon's temple, the body built by. Right. Now, you just really displayed it well because that vessel is, I guess what they're trying to do, well, not trying to do, but even if we were to look at the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, if we don't have true knowledge of what that was written for, as I had mentioned earlier, I said, then the Treaty of Peace and Friendship is their passport. But, in distinguishing or fine-tuning that, it means that the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, it mentioned in there that they would have to have their banner, because the banner is an ensign or flag if you're a nation, right? All right, so the Treaty of Peace and Friendship are the rules of engagement regarding the fact that you're getting this passport. Just like they'll give you a passport now and they got all those rules in it. Well, right, it's the simplicity of it right there in those 25 articles. Right. So why do you think they want to act like they don't know what the Treaty of Peace and Friendship is? Because the truth is their passport. It's the engagement of their passport to even come here.
Yes, absolutely.
Freely. Come here freely, because before they were coming as slaves. Now, after the Declaration of Independence, et cetera, and so on, the law of the sea, which is the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, allowing them to pass the ports that already existed, and then the law of the land. We made it real simple, but they complicated it.
Yeah. Exactly. And this is why, the prophet told us we got to study, because if we do not study, we will go into an arena and demonstrate our lack of knowledge. And the one thing you don't want to do is get amongst a bunch of foreigners and demonstrate to them that you know little about nationality and national principles. That's the last thing you want to do. Because if we look at the history of the Moors, one of the things that we know is that, look, if the people have this tendency of saying, guess what, some of your own people enslaved you. Well, yeah. Anybody will enslave you in one form or another if you demonstrate lack of knowledge. I mean, that's just the way things are. That's why the prophet always implored the people to study, study, study. He said that. And he said it most emphatically for a reason. Because in our studying, what you're going to end up doing is protecting yourself. Because it's up to the people to protect themselves. It's not up to anybody else to protect you.
Islam, like you see. Oh, yes. Islam, I had muted for a minute. Islam, it's like, as you said in one of the last class. I know when we did our special Wednesday class, you and I, and you dealt with that maxim, and I said that was one of Hamatio's favorite maxims. He who would be fool, let them. And I started cracking up when you pulled that one up. Yes, and that's what's happening now. Is it right or is it wrong? But now we got to go back to the lessons that, there's two selves, higher self and lower self. If you're operating from your lower self, you would be one who would take advantage of someone in that respect. It doesn't mean, right, it's human nature if you're in your lower nature to take advantage of someone who doesn't know. Right.
And
so
that's
we want to make it.
We're all here. Look, and Roz and I, we were talking, I think it was today, and we were saying, if you don't got nothing to learn, then you wouldn't be here. So clearly, everybody who has manifested here on planet Earth, we got some lower self work to do. That's why we're here.
Right, that's true. And there's all kinds of ways of identifying those who don't know that, and who won't grow past it. All kinds of ways. Like, the worst part is to become a victim to yourself. And these Europeans know that, so they victimize you as well, because that is when they can have absolute total control over your mind and yourself, because you yourself see yourself as a victim all the time. So therefore, you're amenable to never grow. You know what I mean? That's just the way that it goes. That's the way that it is. But I like these definitions, and of course I understand about the liberty one. If someone really studies that goes on liberty, they will understand why a lot of case laws were written, because we said before, case laws are written based on someone violating any of your liberties or attempting to do so. Now, there's people out there, I want to say this. Well, yeah, I heard everything that you just said, that is liberty, etc. like that, but this is what they're doing. It's not a matter of what they're doing. It's a matter of what we're doing. As an example, all of those freedoms, liberties, just right. Why can't all of us who are from the same family, the Moors, instead of arguing with each other about dumb stuff, or what I'm going to just paraphrase as dumb stuff at this point, mute stuff, why don't we get together, no matter what we call ourselves, what family affiliation, whatever it is, and enforce and tie and bind together these things so that we can then be on the same platform, right?
Yeah.
And then right. That's what has to happen, and until we figure that much out, even in our differences, it's not going to happen. That's why he said this is the uniting of Asia, because we're all family aboriginally. And when you get into Americans, now we understand there's something called American citizens, but the Aboriginal indigenous people, or to be Aboriginal, you're indigenous, but to be indigenous does not mean you're Aboriginal just because you were born somewhere, So a lot of the Europeans are trying to claim indigenous status because they were born here, but there are no rights and liberties for the
indigenous status because they were born here, because their descendants come from Great Britain, and that's historical. Not even any Eid or Ross making anything up. They documented that right in the Declaration of Independence.
And what did Prophet Noble Drew Ali say? He said no one can change your descent nature. Now, if you want to change it or make a claim to it, you're doing something called expatriation. You're changing your allegiance to your citizenship. But you can't really change your nationality. No one can change anyone's nationality. That can never be done. You can be, and that's what they did when they came over, particularly more so after Ellis Island. They dropped the full spellings of their last names and stuff, and they changed their allegiance by citizenship, but not by nature, because you can't.
Right. Right.
And that's why they'll say, well, my full name is Weissenberger or something. And even when you go look at those full names, they're all attached to Moor's family, really. Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Well,
so with that, what we're going to do is we're going to start taking some questions. But before we do, we got 3 people with their one press, and I need you to press 1 so you can come out of the queue. Caller 41. All right. Caller 718.
Wait a minute. Are you getting ready to do the 12 questions?
Yeah.
You're getting ready. So because you're getting ready to do the 12 questions, all those who may have a question, you're just asking them to back off for a minute until we do the 12 questions. All right.
Caller 718-902. Please press 1 so you can come out of the queue. Caller 718-902. 718-902. All right, because I'm just not gonna unmute you. So if you have a question or a comment, you need to wait until after we get through the definition. So caller 718-902, press 1 to come out of the queue. All right, first question. Who was the treaty delivered to? Who was the treaty delivered to?
Great question.
And who was the treaty delivered to? Oh, we got a couple callers. Oh, everybody hot-footed that one. Caller 619-807. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation and answer the question.
Morning. I am Felicia. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. The answer to the question is the agent of the United States known as Thomas Barclay.
Great. Yes, that is correct. Thank you so much. I'm going to unmute you, but press 1 after I unmute you. All right. All right. The next question. What form was the treaty delivered? In what form was the treaty delivered? I know this is Sister Carol. Sister Carol.
Yes, it is. It's not. It's not.
Number 2 question. What form was the treaty delivered?
When we finish with the questions, I definitely have to share my airport experience with you, with the family. But the answer to that question, yes, because everything you did today, I mean, I tell you, I stood on it at the airport. But anyway, the answer to that question was delivered in a book and delivered to Thomas Barkley. It was inserted in a book and delivered.
Yes. Yes. Make sure you don't hang up now, but I'm going to unmute you with these questions, and then we can come back to you and get the 411.
Yes.
All right, press 1. All right. Our next question, what is it that is given to all vessels and ships? What that is given to all vessels and ships? Alrighty, I got, all right, caller 619, 619-807, I saw you first, sorry. Islam, you have the answer to question number 3?
Yes, I do.
Alrighty.
All right, you ready?
Yep.
It's a signal or pass shall be given to all vessels belonging to the parties.
That's right. Which, and we know from our definitions that a pass is also a passport. Excellent. Thank you so much. I'm going to unmute you and then press 1. Our next question. What does it do? What does the pass/passport do? What does the pass/passport do? All righty, we got, I don't know who this is, 513-981.
This is Sister Diana back.
Diana, all right. I didn't know if that was you or Elitra. Islam.
All
right. Question number 4. What does the pass/passport do?
Exempt any of them from examination.
That's right. That's what I'm talking about. All right. I'm going to press 1. I'm going to unmute you, and then after I unmute you, press 1. Good. All right, next question. What are the protocols if they meet? I don't know if that was a typo. It might say meet, but it's what
I changed it to meet. I corrected it.
Oh, good. What are the protocols if they meet at sea? What are the protocols if they meet at sea? All right. Sister Diana, is that you again?
Yes, ma'am. If an examination is to be made, it should be done by sending a boat with 2 or 3 men only.
That's right. All right. Thank you, Sister. All right, press 1. All right, next question. What happens if an injury is done without reason? What happens if an injury is done without reason? What happens if an injury is done without reason? All right. Caller 619-807. Oh, 619-807.
Yes. Islam. The offending party shall make good of all damages.
Yes, Islam. That means that, thank you so much, sister. I'm going to unmute you now. That means for all those people listening, they must be made whole. And putting them in prison does not do that. All right? All right, next question. What must the United States of America and Morocco do if any war with any nation? Oh, I should say if at war with any nation. If at.
Yeah, I changed that.
Oh, good. War. If at war with any nation, what must the United States of America and Morocco do? All right, Sister Jayana.
Okay, the others shall not take a commission from the enemy nor fight under their colors.
That's right. Islam. We got some people that's doing the contrary to that right now.
Yeah, because the United States of America, these crazy Europeans, they're making all this war and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And they trying to enlist the Moors to be a part of all that crap, as doing it in the name of the ancestral state of America.
All right, but I'm going to need you to take over for this after this one. What must both parties do if at war with another nation and take a prize belonging to that nation? That's kind of lengthy. What must both parties do if at war with another nation and take a prize belonging to that nation? All right, Sister Jayana.
This is Sister Eritrea. No, I'm too now on it. That's okay. Same area code. I get it. That's okay. Peace, sisters. That's found under Article 3. And it says, if any of the parties shall be at war with any nation, whatever, and take a prize belonging to the nation, and there should be found on board subjects or effects belonging to either of the parties, the subject shall be set at liberty, and the effects returned to the owners. So they should be set at liberty and effects returned. Peace. Islam.
They must be returned. Otherwise, they will be returned. Otherwise, they may pass freely. That is right. Thank you, sister.
Thank you.
All right. Our next question. If any ship pull into port for repairs, what is the protocol? If any ship pull into port for repairs, what is the protocol? All right. Sister Alicia.
Yes. I raised my hand for that one, too. The Article 7. So it says, if any vessel of either party shall pull into the port of the other for provisions or other supplies, they shall be furnished without any interruptions or molestation.
That's right. They shall not be molested. That's right. All right. Question number 10. What happens if ships meet in a disaster or are cast on shore? What happens if ships meet in a disaster or are cast on shore? All right. I think this is Sister Gianna.
Peace, can you hear me?
Peace, yes.
Okay, I had a question for number 9. For any ships pulled into port for repairs, what is the protocol? I thought that it was the liberty to land or reload her cargo without paying any duties.
That's 10.
That's the one we're asking you now.
Okay.
But she just
you know what? I think the distinction is in 9, they may be traveling on the seas and they need to stop at a port for repairs. It's not necessarily that they're in a disaster or that they were cast on shore or they just need, stop. Right. And it's like if they do, you just can't mess with them. That's what it's saying. But number 10 is what happens if the ships do meet in some sort of disaster or they are cast on shore, the meaning that, that wasn't what they're claiming. So you just gave the answer, Gianna. You want to repeat it again?
Oh, yeah. So number 10 is she shall have liberty to land and reload her cargo without paying any duty whatsoever. And then number 9 is she shall not be molested. And
right.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. There are two different situations. One is they're just stopping for minor repairs. That's like you stopping for gas. It's not a disaster. It's not you're cast on shore, didn't mean to be type thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I had a question then, because I'm kind of. So if you go to number 10, Article 9, so that's what I got my answer for number 10 my original answer. Article 9, it says that, I want to go to it. Okay. So it says that if any vessel of the United States shall be cast on shore or any port or the coast, she shall remain at disposition of the owners, and no one shall attempt going near her without her approbation. She, la, 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 la. And then it says United States shall be forced to put into our ports by stress of weather or otherwise. She shall not be compelled to land her cargo, but she shall remain in tranquility until the commander shall think proper. So what would you say that goes to, or was that not even a question? Because I put that as an answer.
It's just reiterating, I think, it's just expounding upon the circumstances. You know,
okay.
Because to be left in tranquility means not to be molested.
All righty. Understood. Thanks.
All right. All right. I think I may have to read this one. Who represents the parties? Hold on. Before I do, I wasn't paying attention to the board, so I got to look and see if they interrupt. All right. Who represents the parties? Christian Powers and America. Let's see anybody. That's number 11. Who represents the parties? The Christian Powers, and who represents the Americans? Anybody answering that one?
All right. Am I unmuted?
No, you're not unmuted, so go right ahead.
Okay. If somebody is in the queue, you can take them first.
No, I don't see anyone.
Okay. All right. So I didn't really put an answer there because I was kind of confused, but I'm going to take a guess at it. The Christian parties are represented by who represent the parties? The Christian parties will be represented by the Europeans that are part of the United States of America. And then the Americans will be represented by the Moors that are in America, a.k.a. Morocco. So,
That's right. That's right. That's what we try to tell people. America and Moroc, it's the same thing, you know, in that respect as we speak now. But you're right. The Christian powers would be the United States of America. And a lot of people still may not have the distinction of the fact that you're talking United States of America, which are the states of America, and America itself. But if they would go back and
actually, it's asking 3 questions. 11 is asking 3 questions. It's asking who are the parties, who represents the party, that's one group of people, the Christian powers, that's another group of people, and then Americans. Let's see.
Oh, I see what you're saying here. Well, it's kind of a trick question there.
So the first question is what? Who represents the party?
You did kind of sort of answer it. The parties is the United States of America and Morocco.
Okay.
The Christian powers, oh, I know why I said that. The Christian powers is really, it says Europeans, but there's a distinction that has to be made. It's not the modern Europeans, it's the ancient Europeans.
And there's no such thing, as, to my opinion, as ancient Europeans, because they're not ancient, but I know what you're trying to say. You're talking about the
British Moors. The British Moors. And then Americans and United States, as used in this document, is the United States of America. Because that's who they're talking about in this document. But then this question that you did really answer. It leads us into question number 12.
But wait a minute, hold on. Before you go to 12, make it clear. In this document, when they say United States, they're talking about the United States of America. That's what we were saying. We got to know who we use.
Yes.
All right. All right.
Because
the United States has to be right.
Exactly, because see, in the introduction, they let you know we're talking about the United States of America.
Right. Of the American land.
Right. They dropped States of America.
Right.
But we know from the Constitution that there's two parties. There's the United States and the United States of America.
Right.
So now, remember, this is a translation of the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, brings us into question number 10, the final question, number 12. United States of America is the inferior party. How can you, through reasonable analysis, know this document may have been slightly altered?
Oh, I think I have how. I said how this document has been slightly, well, same thing, but know how this document may have been slightly altered. I think you just answered it.
Say that again?
You kind of just answered it, kind of, sort of.
Well, let me see.
Okay. So I had a question.
Go ahead.
This is the question. I was going to ask this question anyway, so I'm happy I'm online. So if you go to Article 4, and this is kind of how I was trying to explain how it may have been altered. If you look at Article 4, if you got the article at 4, 10, and 11. 4, 10, and 11. Those are the three articles from Article 1 through 12 where they mention Christian powers, American and America, and citizens of America. And so when I read Article 4, if any more shall bring citizens of the United States. So right there, it lets you know that there's two parties, the Moors and citizens of the United States, right? And their effects of His Majesty's. And then it say the citizens shall immediately be set free, la, 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 la. And then it skips and say this, Moors not a subject, and in like manner. So when they say and in like manner, every time I read that, because we use that a lot, every time I read and in like manner, I'm thinking that now we're going to the other party and explaining how in like manner the same thing shall be afforded to the other party, or the same thing shall be issued for the other party. So, am I right? Right? So in like manner, if any more not... Okay. So if any more not a subject of these dominions, so now that lets you know that there's some Moors that are not subject to these dominions. So there's some Moors that are not subject to Morocco, shall make prize of any citizens of America. So now I got confused because at the beginning say if any more shall bring citizens of the United States, and then it goes down and say if any more not subject to this dominion shall make any prize of any citizens of America, as if the citizens of the United States and citizens of America are two different parties.
Well, kind of,
because they put in like manner. But so this is the question, because Annie, you just said that from your analyzing the document, you got out that the United States of America would be, United States of America is United States in this document, and also the United States of America is the Americans, or so to say. But when I read Article 4, it will be citizens of America, which is true.
Right.
Which is true, but then you go to Article 10 and say if any vessel of either other party shall have engagement with a vessel belonging to any of the Christian powers. All right, so now this is a different entity from the citizens of America, or is it not? And then so with any Christian powers within a gunshot, as shot of the fort of the others, the vessel so engaged shall be defended and protected as much as possible until she is in safety. And then if any, so now you're saying, and if any, so now we go into a different party again, because he's saying if any American vessel, not citizens of America, but an American vessel shall be cast on the shore of the coast of Wadoon, whatever, however you pronounce it, Wadoon, or any coast thereabout, the people belonging to her shall be protected and assisted until, by the help of God, they shall be sent to their country. So when I read Article 10, Christian powers within a gunshot, leaving from, and then American vessels would be different entities again.
Right, because there are different entities. As Annie, I think Annie will probably comment on this again. She was saying leading off to 12, there's really like 3 different things because, look, you have the United States of America, and she's saying that, and we said this before, sometimes the States of America was used loosely, but they're talking about these modern Europeans, which got formalized to be the United States of America as we know today, the different union states or, from the colonies to the with the charters to the union states to now what we call, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Virginia, all that. So then you have the people of the American land, all right, of the American land. Which really is El Moroc, but these exchanges were being made because there was a formalized meaning given to them being the United States of America. So the other citizens, there's other people here in these Moroccan dominions other than the modern Europeans who are formalized and given a passport to be here. You've got those. Like, we're not subjects necessarily of the Moroccan nation. We're not citizens of the United States of America. So a lot of this stuff doesn't apply to us that they're doing. Neither does really the Constitution. Our only duty, because the Constitution wasn't written for us, but it's the law of the land that we establish for other citizens. So there's lots of other citizens. There's people who are foreign nationals, but even unto this day, they're foreign. They're not trying to say that they're American citizens. They might say, I'm whatever their nationality is, which might be, from somewhere else, and I domicile here. But they are not nationals who come here and say, I'm a citizen of the United States of America.
Right.
Right.
So with question 12, it would be that, from what I got is that it was slightly altered by putting American vessels or Americans that, when I think originally it said United States of America or United States, and I think that they started putting in America.
That's what he was saying, that sometimes they'll leave off because remember, some of this wasn't absolutely formalized until later anyway, so sometimes they'll leave off the United States of America because they're talking about the States of America. You see, so like you're talking about the States of America, but they're united. Then that's the United States of America of the land. Then you're talking about the United States, which could be from the north, south, central, because remember what a state is. The state of mind is a group of people occupying the same land. The distinction comes with the United States of America. All right? So
you know what?
We have to – yeah.
Yeah. Remember, the question is, how can we determine that this document may have been altered in not necessarily the translation, the original translation, but recently, like after the modern Europeans took over in the late 1800s. This is, because remember, they started reconstructing in 1865. They might not have had full knowledge in terms of, okay, what was they taking out and adding in? So when you start looking at this document, one of the things that we know is that whenever you see the word United States, because see, in the introduction, it already lets you know they wasn't trying to hide Morocco. They put it right there. So the two parties is United States of America and Morocco. So wherever you see the United States, in the document, you have to add United States of America because they dropped that off. Then the other questionable use is the word American, because we know from our definition that American is referring to the copper-tone people. So what might they have dropped off? The qualifier is either American national or American citizen. So now when we add American citizen and reread the document, we get greater comprehension, right? Then the other word that they used was, hold on, I just got to get back to it.
Christian powers.
They used Christian powers. Now, who are the Christian powers? Now, according to, and Ms. is on the line because I asked him if he can research who exactly are the Christian powers. Because if you go and you look up the definition of American, it tells you who they are. If you go and look up the word Ethiopian, it tells you what they're referring to. If you go and look up the word European, it tells you, basically, if you look up the word and research the word Europe, it brings you to Europa. All right? So what exactly is Christian powers? And the only thing I could find is Christian powers of Europe, which, you know, it's questionable still. It's still questionable. So, you know, just with my limited reasonable analysis, the use of the word United States instead of United States of America, and the use of the word American, you know, instead of American citizen or American national, is questionable when they're referring to member citizens of the United States of America. Because if you're a citizen of the United States, really what they're saying is you're an American citizen of the United States of America. But look at all the qualifying words that they left out.
All right.
You see what I'm saying? Right. So now, as an assignment, I'm going to do this too. You know, I'm not just putting it on y'all. I'm going to do this too because this is why I wanted to have this discussion. I am going to go back into the Treaty of Peace and Friendship and put back the qualifiers. Then I'm going to reread the document and see if it still means the same thing. Because you know, with addition of these words, it could change. It could change the meaning of the document. You see what I'm saying? But it's an exercise, and you know, when you do it with the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, you go back into the American Constitution because, see, one of the things that I saw was in Article 6 of the American Constitution, Article 3 of the American Constitution, it says that all judicial powers are vested in the United States, in the one Supreme Court of the United States. And see, I think a lot of people miss that the distinction that they said United States, not the United States of America. Then you have an article where they say the legislative power is vested in the United States. Then in Article 2, they say the executive party is vested in the United States of America. But then you go to Article 3, and you read it, and you realize if you really know who is who and what is what, there should be no Europeans sitting on the Supreme Court because the issue of the whole the Constitution is diversity. Who can determine diversity better than the Aboriginal Indigenous people?
Right. See, no, I think they may. I see. Oh, here's Liz. He didn't have his hand up at first, so I got him. But there are two other people who I guess want to join in on this open conversation here because they have their hands up. All right, so I ought to open them up first and then call on Liz to clear things up, or let's find out what these two people want, and then he can clear everything up.
Then we just got to keep track that we have 45 minutes because we want to hear what Sister Carol got to say.
Oh, that's right. Well, what is Sister Carol's number? Because I got two people with their hands up. 619. Is that her? I apologize.
No, I think it's 984. I think it's 984.
All right. Well, let me just open up for Ms. let me just open up this number, these two numbers, so in case they have a comment while Ms. is giving his. But I'm going to first open up 619-807. Let's see. You are live. Did you have a comment here, or you just wanted to be able to comment on this matter? Are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, and you are?
I'm Felicia. I had a question about 9 and 10 when I think her name was Jamila.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jayana. Mm-hmm.
Jayana. Yeah, I agree with her totally on 9 and 10. The answers. So I just needed to tell you that.
Well, but there's no disagreement. It was just a clarity. If any ships pull into port for repairs, what is the protocol? And it's simple. Just don't molest them. Because that means that you're not stopping because you had a disaster. You're not stopping because you were cast ashore for some other thing. It's equivalent to, if I could simplify it, that if you're traveling in your automobile and you just need to stop to put air in your tire or something like that. So and not being molested is the same as remaining in tranquility. So there's really no disagreement there. Number 10 says what happens if a ship does meet in disaster or are cast on shore. It's just expounding upon various different specific situations and really coming to the same thing. They shall be in liberty to land and to reload. If they have a disaster, maybe some of their cargo fell off or something, they can reload without paying any duties, meaning that, this is a disaster situation. It wasn't intended, blah, blah, like that. So that's really the refinement that we made with it, all right?
Okay, but I mean, it's all right. It's all right.
All right.
But it's just, I was saying.
Yeah, it's just expounding upon the response. All right.
Now, 12 was supposed to be a discussion question, but I mean,
I know 12 is the discussion, and that's what we're doing. But let me get so. All right.
All discussion questions, really. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Actually. So, all right. So, did we clear that up for you, Sister Felicia?
That's better. But
all right.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right.
You need me to push?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Was that you speaking or her?
Do you need me to push one to come out of the queue?
Yeah. You can push one. Yeah, push one. Unless you want to remain in this discussion, I just have one other person to check on, and then we're going two other people to check on. So if that was your question and you don't have another one, all right.
Yeah.
You're welcome. All right. Now hold on. Now 973. This might be Carol. 973-280-03. 280.
You have a Carol.
Yes,
is it Carol?
It's I. It is I. But I was listening to our sisters speak, and what helped me with number 12 is that I don't know when we did the 13 months of the American Constitution, 1791. So number 12, that analyzing that helped me a lot with that, because I know who the parties are. I know the United States is the Moors,
right.
and Moroc. So that helped me with that question. I just wanted to clear that up with the sisters. Maybe if they go back to the archives and listen to that 13-month classes that we did analyzing the American Constitution, I think that would help a lot.
And I think on the first one, who the parties are, that would be class number 1 on analyzing the American Constitution. All right. Well, I'm gonna keep you on. But we got one more person to bring in to this, and then we want to hear from you about your airport experience as well before we go. But let me see. Oh, here it is. This would be 609. This is Brother Mizraim, 609-402. Understand you have some information to bring to. Oh, wait a minute. Let me unmute him. Hold on. There you are. You there?
Islam, I am here. Peace and love, family.
Islam.
Peace and love.
Peace and love. First and foremost, I'm going to keep this really brief. And it inspired me to do a little bit of research. I didn't really get right back, but I definitely appreciate sharing this with the family. This is just a couple of references, and I personally also want to hear what the Sister Carol has to say. I've been listening from the beginning, and man, just motivated. I gotta say though, stayed up studying so much. When you asked me this question, it opened me up to so many different things. I was studying, I broke day, and I set my internal alarm clock, and I actually woke up 5 minutes before the show. But I wanted to add on that it's a book, because you was asking about the Christian powers, right? And I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
So, you know, I did all types of, I'm still digging, I'm still going in. But this is what I came up with from the knowledge that I already have and a couple of references I sought out. All right, so real quick, just a reference. It's a book called The Antichrist. And it says here, an excerpt from page 145. It says, the Christian movement as a European movement was from the start no more than a general uprising of all sorts of outcasts and refused elements who now, under the cover of Christianity, aspire to power. All right, that's reference point number one. As far as Christian powers, I don't know if all Europeans can be included in that, because it says here, this is from a book called International Law or Rules Regulating the Intercourse of States in Peace by Henry Wagner Halleck, page 100. And it says, the Catholic powers concede the presidency to the Pope as the visible head of the church, but Russia and the Protestant states of Europe consider him only a sovereign prince in Italy, and as such entitled to royal honors, but not to any precedency from his rank as supreme pontiff. Again, that's International Law by Henry Wagner Halleck. Also, before I yield the floor, real quick, it's two more references. It says on page 88 of the same book, it says Austria, France, and Spain have a voice in the election of the Pope, plural sovereign of the Roman states, and the supreme pontiff of the Roman Catholic Church. And again, that's International Law by Henry Wagner Halleck, page 88. And if I could just add on this last reference from the History of the Moorish Empire in Europe, volume 1, page 208, it says, when the Pope interfered in the spiritual affairs of the peninsula, an occurrence, however, that rarely took place, he did so rather in the capacity of a mediator or even a suppliant than as a mighty ruler, the head of Christendom, and the vicar of God. His titles were assumed and his prerogatives usurped by the Spanish prelates. His fallibility was questioned not only by the higher clergy, whose ministrations were declared to be endowed with equal virtue, but even by the sovereign and the nobles, who openly ridiculed his pretensions and defied his authority. So I say that to say that Christian powers, you're talking for the most part, Austria, France, Spain, Italy, you know, certain European, because you got to remember too, and I'm going to yield the floor with this. Rome also invaded and took over Great Britain. So, and you brought this out before, that's how it really got the appellation English or whatnot. But I say that to say this, that is just a few things I came across as far as Christian powers. And it's a bottomless conversation almost, but I definitely appreciate the chance to share that knowledge with the family. And at this point, I know time is limited, and it sounds like Sis has an extensive story that we might all need to hear. I trust we do. So with that being said, I thank you all, Sister Standing on Law, MHHS Principles of Nationality and Action, MHHS Sunday Live. Man, just keep doing it, family. You're doing great. And with that, I respectively yield the floor. Salam.
I want to give one reference related to the Christian powers, and I found it surprisingly in the United Nations Economic and Social Council, and they have it's the Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues, 9th session, New York. Let's see, the 19th to the 30th of April 2010, and they talk about the Christian powers, and surprisingly, they had a footnote, and the footnote read, oh geez, let me get it. Where is it? Here it is. The footnote read, Christian powers refers to what were once known as the state, members of the, quote, family of nation, end quote. International law scholar Thomas Erskine Holland is quoted in Webster's New International Dictionary of the English Language as saying that the term family of nations may be said to include the Christian nations of Europe and their offshoots in America, with the addition of the Ottoman Empire, which was declared by the Treaty of Paris of 1856 to be admitted to the concert European, EUROPEEN. Within this charmed circle, to which Japan also has now established her claim to be admitted, all states, according to the theory of international law, are equal. The same volume provides the following definition, quote, family of nations, the aggregate of states, origin, the Christian nations of Europe, which, as a result of their historical antecedents, have inherited a common civilization and are at a similar level of moral and political opinion, or have been recognized by those states as on that level. So it still sounds like it's something that is of modern creation, not ancient. So,
well, of course, because of course, as Ms. Jess read, and it most definitely. And I wanted to also bring out when they said the vicar, they're showing you that he kind of butted himself into stuff, the Pope, and also that the vicar means substitute God. So they came in like that. They're not hiding that situation, and it cleared up that those are dealing with Europeans. This is why the treaty has to say Christian powers, to specify that.
Yeah,
and the Ottoman Empire are the Moors. Now, like you said, they took over a lot of stuff. Like Liz is reading Spain. Well, that's not the name of the land. It was Andalusia. So, they're talking right. So we have to know those things.
True.
Mm-hmm. So I think I still want to look up some more on this definition, Christian powers, because usually when you're looking for a definition of something, it will give you like for example, the Holy See. And the Holy See, if we do research, we did research actually, and I think we have it in one of our congressional record books. We have the definition of who the members of the Holy See is. But we don't know I guess we just found out who the members of the Christian powers is referring to, and it sounds to me, I could be wrong, that they're referring to the hybrids, which, refer to themselves as the English people.
Mm-hmm. Which is, but who are the English people but hybrids? You're right, you just said that. If you look up in Oxford Dictionary, they say that we as English people are nothing but hybrids.
Exactly. So they talk about the Christian powers, right? This is where, I always thought that it was just the Moors fighting Moors, but apparently the English, the hybrids, were fighting each other too, because if the Christian powers is the hybrids over in Great Britain, what they call Europe, then the United States of America is also the hybrid. So they say
you said it. You said, and their extended family in America. You just said that. right?
Yes.
So if it's the case, then that is just sure, and it is the case, it shores up for us that this is not their land. I mean, everybody knows that. We don't even got to go there. But, yeah.
Yes.
And
that's from the United Nations just let you know, and once again, in more recent times, that this is the land of Aboriginal Indigenous people. So, as such, Moors, y'all need to research and study the decolonization of the Americas put out by the United Nations.
Mm-hmm. Now, exactly, because this is what it is. You got to study in order to know, put all the pieces together and know who is who and what is what. And as Carol Bay said, our first class when we were breaking down the Constitution, it started with who the parties are, like any other agreement, compact, or treaty would do. It would say who is who. And that's what, when you do that. And also when you continue to read the Constitution, as you stated, you'll see when it talks about the President of the United States and the President of the United States of America, they're two different ones. And that's why we keep telling people that Obama, he's not the president for us. He's the president for the United States of America. But he doesn't hide it either. It's just that people don't know, so it goes over their head.
Yep. Yes. So, I want to hear, I'm so anxious.
I know.
I just want to pause. We got 30 minutes. This might take all 30 minutes.
Annie, calm down a second. Listen to me. Can you call her and splice her in on your phone? Because she called me and got dropped and can't get back in. I can't call her now because she already called me and my phone has not released it, so I can't conference it. Can you call her?
All right. I'll do that right now.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so I wanted to make sure while we're getting her on the line that we understood from the thanks of Ms. Rain for that wonderful definition as well, because we got to understand there's this exact difference, and this is why we tell Moors you cannot be Christians, when we're just particularly and especially when we're talking politically, and know the distinctions, be Christian powers, in terms of it attempting with the nation, and Christianity in terms of a pseudo religion. Who's calling who? I'm not calling anybody. Oh, that's you. All right, Sister Nan.
I have an earplug in. Yeah, I was so anxious to tell you what happened, my experience at the airport. But if I'm on the air, I'll definitely call Tuesday. But I can share it with you. What I did, I sent a money order, but
we're still
are we on the air?
Yes, we are
here. Oh, yes, you're on the air. You couldn't get back in because after a certain time you can't call. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get back and I couldn't. But let me, first of all honors to Noble Drew Ali. And I have to do honors to Sister Anna L., Sister Roz, because without these classes and you helping me to comprehend what I'm reading and studying and researching, I say, when I stood there, I felt the ancestors was just a sin, and I literally said what I knew and was who I said I was. What happened is that I had a close family member passed the early part of this month, so I'm still down here in this corporate area near Georgia Corporation. So I was traveling back in March, but anyway, so I went back up, and no problem traveling back up north, no problem at all. I mean, it came to and see, whenever I travel, because my nationality card has my fez on it, I always make sure I have my fez on, because for some reason we all look alike, but then at some points we don't. So instead of wearing the turban, I made sure I had my fez, and no problem going down. One of the young ladies, the TSA employees, she says to me, this is why we're still in Atlanta Corporation. She says, well, I know I can't touch your hat. I said, it's not a hat, it's my national headdress. She said, but can you bend down so I can just wand it? I said, okay, no problem. coming back through corporate Philadelphia is where I had the issue. And it's so funny because I checked the calendar and I knew that was going to be a challenging day. I checked and I saw where the stars were because I have an astrology calendar, right? And I said, okay, it's going to be challenging. So it was a modern European. I'm standing there online, and he says, okay. He said, please have your identification and boarding pass ready. Now, it was interesting because at no time did he specifically say driver's license. So I found that interesting because I know we were talking about, or I've been reading online to a problem with a lot of the TSA agents not accepting certain license plates or whatever. So, okay, that was the first indication. So I go to the, I present with my nationality card. So he looks at it, looks at me, looks at it again. He says, well, I don't know what this is. I said, that's my nationality card. He said, well, I still understand. So I said, well, you know, I'm a national, North American national. I said, it has the proper information. You have facial recognition. You have a domicile, you know, so what's the problem? So he called someone by his name was, I took his name down, Larry Pitt. Then he called someone by the name of Bob. This was a gray-headed modern European that came up. So he's looking at it. He looks at me and he says, it doesn't have an expiration date. I said to him, the nationality doesn't expire. And now, mind you, like you said, you know, when you talk to people in intelligence, you're trying to insult them. But I was, and you know, a lot of these modern Europeans are short. So, you know, I was taller than most of the people there. And so I talked in a civil tone. I kept my calm about me. So he says, well, I got to go check on this. So I see he stopped 10 feet away from me in a little booth. Next thing I know, that booth was full of people. Every line in there, they were on the phone, just call. So I'm standing there about maybe another 15 minutes or so. So a female modern European, another employee, she comes up to me. At this point, I'm getting a little irritated, but I'm still maintaining because the bottom line is, you know, heck, look, I've studied, I know who I am. I'm not, you know, and I know the law. So, and so she says to me, well, Miss Day, you know, we're sorry for the delay, but, you know, do you have any other? I said, look, I have my right to travel. I have my student identification. I said, but Bob is looking for an expiration date. I said, I told him nationality doesn't expire. So she comes back in a few minutes and she says, well, we're going to have to search you. Now, mind you, this is all right there where, you know, everyone's coming and going. They're stuck into the machine. So I asked her, why do I have to be searched? I said, I could see if I went through the machine and something went off, then that would give you probable cause to search me. Yeah. She said, well, you know, well, this is this is what we'll have to do. We'll have to search you. She says, well, if you like, you know, we can take you in the back room. You have private. No, you said, look, why would I go anywhere with you? You're a stranger, and especially somewhere alone. I don't know what would happen. I said, look, if you're going to search me under threat, under threat, duress, and coercion, I said, then you're going to do it right here in front of everyone, including cameras. So I said, and just to let you know what you're doing, I said, I'm a national. You're violating national and international law. I said, it's not my problem if you haven't seen my identification. I said, look, first of all, here in Philadelphia, they have a very active Moorish community. She said, oh, yes, well, I'm well aware of the Moors here in Philly. I said, well, we're all the same family. You know, so I had my niece and my sister with me. I know they were a little anxious because they know that I'm into this Moorish side, but when they really don't want to go in that direction. So they were a little concerned thinking I was going to miss the flight. I mean, they apologized. No, Ms. Day, you're not going to miss your flight. And I said, I know I'm not going to miss my flight. So I said, no, if you got to search me, I said, you're going to do it right here in front of the cameras and all these witnesses. I said, I'm not going off anywhere with you. So she's nervous, and she's explaining to me and showing me a hand motion, how she'll touch me and this and that and whatever. I said, just for the record, you know, you're molesting me here. I will be molested. She didn't like that at all. But anyway, you know, so anyone that was within air distance that could hear what I was saying, I was just letting them know, you know, this is the law. I said, look, if this corporation didn't train you to the point where, you know, you should know what lawful identification is because it has a loading of, I mean, this is a lawful identification. It doesn't have to be from a corporation. I said, I'm not a corporate citizen. So she told me she was a U.S. citizen. I said, well, I'm not. I said, I'm an American. I'm Moorish American, you know. And I said, your corporation, I said, you're violating my rights, my liberties. And I said, it's my right to travel. I said, I could see if I went through your machine and it went off, and then that would give them at least a reason to want to search me. So, I let them know I under duress and stress and coercion that they searched me. And and I was just telling them about the right to travel and some other law and some of the other little, that's our right to travel, and that the Secretary of State, I said, John Kerry is well aware of who we Moorish Americans are, and what is his name, John Johnson, the person that's the Secretary of Homeland Security. I said, look, you call him. So in the meantime, I look up, everybody in the booth, they're just like running around like chickens with their heads cut off. So she said, let me say, do you have any other? I said, look, the only thing I have on me is a debit card. Now, if you need something with an expiration date, that's the only thing that I have that has an expiration date. And, people come talking in an intelligent tone. I did that the whole time because there was no need, because I know these people, they would have called the police, they would have security if I felt like I was threatening them, or at any time they, felt that. It's like they were waiting for me to act out of order because they paid me for a good 45 minutes. I kept my posture. I wasn't leaning on nothing. I stood still. I was watching everything they did. I was taking names down. The only thing about it, the only name I kept in my brain is the one who was actually doing the searching. But I just wanted, so they let me go there. They kept apologizing. They said, we're not going to let you miss your flight. Huh?
Well, so they let you go through and you didn't miss your flight, right?
No, I didn't miss my flight. But let me tell you what really got me. They swiped something across the palm of my. I said, what are you doing? I said, I'm not giving you permission to take any DNA from you. She said, oh, no, this is not DNA. Which, come on. I don't know, weapons or drugs or whatever. I don't know what they were doing. But
what do you mean DNA? They
what fingerprint?
Fingerprint. Oh.
So, I don't know what they were taking. I didn't know what they were doing. So I told them that I didn't give a consent for that either. They claimed that's not what it was for. But I said I told them I said, what you're doing is a violation. I said, you're violating my constitutional rights. So like I said, they apologized. I finally went through and what have you. But in a sense, I felt good because my attitude is if it's going to make it easier for the next Moor to come to that airport or what have you, then fine. And not only that, it gave my sister and my niece a lesson of what's going on. I said, no. I said, we don't have to. So I came home. I wound up getting sick. So about a week ago, I finally read a writ because I'm putting them all on notice, especially Homeland Security and John Kerry and TSA, the governor, the mayor of that corporation. So
they searched you because you didn't have an ID that they wanted, that they thought was.
But they were looking for something with an expiration date.
That's what. All right. When I asked them why are you searching me, they didn't give me any answer. They did not answer. So what reason are you searching me? Why do I have to be searched? They never gave me an answer. Then when I asked, I asked them twice.
So you'll put the writ in and change that. But I have to say that myself and some other people that I know also have flown with that card, with the national ID, and maybe it's slightly different, as of this moment because of their fear because they're terrorists, and their fear of them coming back. But when I flew, and when some other people that I know flew, they didn't do any of that. They didn't do any of that at that time, and that was after 911. You know what I'm saying? A few years ago, actually, was the last time I did. And they did expect the driver's license instrument. They did expect to see that. They did. And like you just walk up, right? And they ask for your ID, and you just hand them your ID. You don't say anything, and then they look at it like it's foreign or strange or whatever like that. And then in my case, the guy asked me if I had a driver's license instrument, and I simply, without any explanation, said no, I don't. because I don't need to sit there and explain to him why I don't have one and why I don't need to have one. I just said no. And the question, Carol, that they asked me, the question they asked me after that, which blew my mind, was they said, well, do you have a prescription drug card? And I was like, whoa, a prescription drug card? So I said, no, I don't. I don't take prescription drugs. Now, in my case, he went to his manager, I guess. The manager came out, looked at the card. I wasn't held up no more than 10 minutes, and looked at the card and said, oh, you're fine and go. And in other people that I know who've done what that done this, same thing occurred. So it is doable if you don't say too much, if you answer a question with a direct answer without a lot of information. Right. It is an identification card. Now, and I didn't have any problem after that. But for you to have been searched just because you don't have an expiration date, now that's not an identification. And Anna Eve, we just talked about this. I just want to say that we just read where they had given these states a time frame that they're not meeting to change their identifications because it has been declared that the driver's license instrument is not an ID. So that means that, but we already knew that already. It's not an ID. It never was. It has an expiration date, which is part of why it isn't. And it itself is a driver's license instrument for commerce. And so what the people have to do with what my experience, your experience, and others' experience is continue to, keep your stand. And in your case, you're going to write to them about that you got searched just because you didn't have an expiration. I just have a question. Why then are they looking for an expiration date? I mean, why are they using that terminology? Because expiration date has jack to do with ID. So why are they saying something with an expiration? Well, what is that?
Because that's what caught me off, because they never asked for a driver's license, so I definitely didn't bring it up or anything else. But I was,
I know, but my question, I'm asking, and I'm just saying, I'm asking Anna E because I think she did some study on this. Why are they looking for something with an expiration?
Well, actually, all of their instruments have expirations. So really, what it's two things. They don't know. These people that work in these jobs, they have minimum information. They're giving it no basis. But also the other thing that they don't realize is they've been put in these positions to take a hit, and they don't even realize it.
All right, and really? Carol, you want to give them one, right? Carol, you want to give them a hit?
I did, because what I did, I sent an email, a writ to be reviewed. I sent money order off, but what happened? The first money order, I made it out incorrect. I made it out through the Great Seal. Please, I sent another one addressed correctly, and I said, please keep that first one as a donation. But I'm going to revise this because I revised my writ, and I'm going to send it again for a review, because I haven't gotten an answer yet from it. So this is going to be a revised one that I'm going to send, because it was like, I tell you, all I could do was shake my head, because these people were real. I could feel their energy. They were really nervous, and only because I was stressing my constitutional rights being violated, and then obviously when I used the word, I said, touching my body physically, I said, that's molestation. And then they would look like they were shocked because I wouldn't go into a private room with them. I said, oh, no. And now, mind you, this is right there at the boarding where everyone is, showing their boarding passes. So there were people going back and forth, all the cameras. And I told them, I said, no, I want this on camera in front of all these witnesses. You have to touch my body if you're going to molest me. And they were like shocked. But you could see they were a little nervous.
They did it, though. They did it right there.
Yes, they did. They did. And I told them, no, you ain't taking me anywhere. I said, I don't know. You're a bunch of strangers. I don't know what you would do. And like I said, I was firm, but I kept my calm. I was, just, I don't know what my stance was like, the law, the American law here on this land. And I told them, I said, you're a foreigner on my land. Because none of them, the melanated people were present. They were all modern Europeans. And I told them, I said, you're the foreigners here. I said, I'm the national, aboriginal indigenous to this land. You're the foreigner.
That's right.
So it it was interesting. It was very interesting. And when she went to examine my national health, she she just stood back, like looking at it and what have you. Hey, so, put your hands on my head.
Terrible.
Now that you've done that, similar to when people would first go into these so-called courtrooms that aren't courtrooms, you have a little apprehension, and sometimes people have a little fear of what could happen or whatever like that. But now that you've done that, you don't have any apprehension or fear of, continue to exercise it or do it again. Now that you've gone through it already.
Not at all.
Mm-hmm.
I felt calm. I knew. I said who I was. I knew who I was, and I stood by that. And I truly, truly felt it, because I had my first court experience with that driver's license instrument and what have you. So I know the difference. I know, yes. I said, oh my goodness. I mean, it really, and I think what they were expecting from me, I didn't show. I think they expected me to be loud and voiceless and cursing. I'm like, because literally, they really thought I was from somewhere else until they heard me speak. Well, where are you from? What do you mean, where am I from? I said, I'm an American. They really thought I was from somewhere else.
So, Carol, what you did is you stood on what we call standing on your square, and you spoke in an intelligent tone. Now, standing on your square means, of course, the square is a 90-degree angle, which means energies are coming from 90 degrees squaring you, and therefore opposing, making opposition. And you have to stand on your square in those. That's exactly what it means, because you're being opposed. You got forces coming. So you demonstrated standing on square, speaking in an intelligent tone, getting, a much favorable, and certainly much favorable reply. Islam to that.
Yes, because they were really like scrambling for something, and they had nothing, And so I felt feel that they were like, well, I don't know if I should be enough, but I think I better, And I'm like, oh my goodness.
Was it TSA that actually did the inquisition on you?
Yes, TSA agents, yes. Oh, yeah. So it was interesting. I'm sure they all had something to talk about at the dinner table.
They're a private corporation. They could be sued, as they have been. Because
they will be by Carol.
That's why I put this written, so I can just have it reviewed, make sure I have it correct, because I'm sending them a notice, and that's, because I'll be traveling again. And like I said, I have no problem with doing a suit next. I mean, hey, but I'm definitely putting them all on notice. Even the international family, I just want to make sure I have everything correctly in this writ that I sent.
In your situation, I just want to add this, and Eve, remember how we were telling some people, well, look, sometimes when you're going to fly, you might want to put them on notice, that you're coming through. And in a situation like this where Carol's already had this experience, she would be in a position to do just that and say, and deal with that and not expect to be, searched unduly, unjustly so, without due course of law just because, of the inability to recognize a national identification card. She could do that.
Yes. Well, she could, but really, no one should have to do that, because no other people that come through the American soil have to do that. Mm-hmm. So we shouldn't have to either. Our liberties cannot be restrained in any way.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Let me just share one more thing that really turned the day around for me. That evening when I did return back here to when I was in the Philadelphia Corporation Airport, a man approached me, and he was speaking in a different language. I said, I'm sorry, but I don't. And he said he was Moroccan from the kingdom. So I told him who I was, my nationality. Man, he was so happy. He said, I'm from Morocco, the kingdom of Morocco. I said, oh, wow. And you should have seen he tried whatever I needed. He was right there to take care of it. But it's amazing when you really, just like when I listen to the brothers and the sons speak, when you put your fez on, I tell you, boy, it's amazing the energy that you pick up from other people. He just came right up to me, and I'm online, and this Ethiopian young sister, she just came from behind the register and just hugged me.
Oh, wow.
I said, oh, my goodness. So that made up for the craziness with the TSA people. And I said, wow.
Yeah.
You
know why, Carol?
Because
they're glad.
Welcome.
They're glad to see you because we had a similar experience too. You know, like a few years back, and you know, when I gave the guy my card, I think he was trying to charge tax for repairing a car, and I said no. He says, "Oh my gosh, I thought that all the Moors were dead here," and his lineage comes from Italy, so they will welcome it. Everyone else knows who we are and the validity of it, except for us. So they were happy to see you.
Yeah. Yes. So I just wanted to share that, but it was very interesting, and everything that I've been learning and researching and do and sit down, I tell you, it's just all like just ascended on me, and I'm like, okay, Carol, we got this. We're going to speak the truth. We're standing on that square, and this is that. And they just, they must apologize at least 10 times. They said, we're going to make sure you get on your flight. I said, yes, I know I'm going to make my flight. Yes, I know that. So that's how that ended. But this is real, and it works, you know. One more thing. I was in the post office the other day, and you know that the clerk there told a woman her little 6-month-old baby had to get a passport. So she was talking about passports. All I could do was shake my head. I just shook my head.
I'm sorry, say that.
She said there was an Asian sister there, and she told her that her 6-month-old baby had to get an appointment because the 6-month-old baby had to have a passport.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah. Because I was doing some mail to Pujo, Canaland, and you know they told me, well, you have to write the country on the envelope. I got the information, the mailing location, and everything on it. I said, what, is this something new? I said, the people that ain't confident, they don't, I said, look, if you go online, you'll see this location. She says, oh, no, well, we need the location. We need the country on the envelopes now. I said, whoa. I said, it makes me wonder if they're going to, it makes me wonder if they're censoring our mail now. Yeah, she told me I had to write the country on the envelope. I said, okay. Wow. Yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on, yeah.
Well, it's just more of the reason why we need to stand on our square and, exercise, not practice, exercise our liberties and our freedom because they exist and they're there. And we just, like I said earlier, if we could get all this together collectively, and go ahead and enforce it, we be united. That's what unity is.
Yep.
We don't have, one of the things too, and one of the things too, a lot of people have, and I think that's gone now though, and Eva, people were thinking, well, we got to start our own government. Well, we got, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, like, I think people realize that's not the case at all, So,
yep.
We are
have a government.
Yes. It's our government. Yeah. Well, that was a good share.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, I want to share that in the law and the truth and being knowledgeable of it. It's a must, and we have to wake up. And I'm waking up as many people as possible. I just gotta. I tell you, boy. So I'm gonna do my part. I know what I have to do the rest of the time I'm on this plane.
Let's take this opportunity now, too, to inject this in terms of the airports because I also saw this on TV with one of the sports stars, and it also happened to a brother that was testifying in the class about it. And one of the other reasons why they do this is because you just mentioned they are a corporation. TSA is a corporation. They're looking for things that have an expiration date because that's what corporations provide. And they want to know who you are from that perspective. So they have a collusion they do now where they have like substations from the local police, policy enforcers right at the, they must have a connection right with the computers. And it's say if you come through there and they send that information, the TSA now, because they're corporations, they collude each other, they send that information to the policy